Windbound is a game that intrigued me from the moment I saw it. When I first watched the trailer, all I could think was Breath of the Wild and Wind Waker had a baby and made this game. Needless to say, I was beyond ready. The thought of an open world sailing game really got my heart pumping, and I was in for a fantastic time. The trailer promised an exciting, rough sea and deep and mysterious story. I was sadly mistaken. I'm Jordan, and in this video, I'm going to be giving you my first impressions on Windbound. Is it worth your time? Is it worth your money? Keep on watching to find out. Before I take you on an adventure, go ahead and hit the like button, or the subscribe button. Actually, hit them both. Now let's begin. I'm going to start off with the strongest thing the game had to offer, and that was its visuals. I loved looking at this game. While sailing my boat around the ocean, I loved looking at the crystal clear water and waves splashing against my boat. The art style was awesome. It has nice, chunky lines and bright and vibrant colors. It was pleasing to the eye the whole way through. The ocean looked amazing and rendered really quickly, and the grass moved and flowed nicely in the wind. When I could get lost in this game, I swear I could feel a warm breeze on my skin. The enemy design was interesting, and they all looked pretty good. They went with the environment and provided some nice colors when you stopped on the islands. The AI was a little clunky, but at least they were still nice to look at. When you get into the story, that's when my opinion on the game starts to dwindle. The game had so much potential for a good and fascinating story. But then Windbound did nothing to help the storytelling along, and creators made it so cryptic that I frankly could not give a crap about the story because it was like solving a riddle to even attempt to understand it. The bones of a story are there. It's clear the game wanted to be mysterious and really have the whole mystical ocean gods vibe be the forefront of the story. Frankly, it didn't work. Instead, you had mindless objectives of sailing into the islands, setting off these beacons, and your reward would be a cryptic message from an unknown entity. Because there is no sense of storytelling and you're simply progressing to end the game, there was no real reason to explore. There was no one to meet on these mystery islands and no structures that could help the game's poor story along. The trailer and even the first 3 minutes of the game hints at an ocean of possibilities, but I could not be bothered to explore more than I needed to. It really lacked anything. The substance of the story was not there, and I really felt like I was just playing through the motions to end the game. I've said it before on the channel, I'm a huge fan of exploring and resource gathering, and I was extremely excited to do that on all these islands, but there's no reason to. The story gave me no reason to explore further than what I needed to. Not to mention, when you do progress to the next chapter, the outcome is the same. Find 3 pillars, light the beacons, and you're done. It's a real shame because the trailer really pulled me in. I thought I was going to get a great in-depth game, but instead, the game barely scratched the surface of what it could be. The story is the main reason I didn't play longer than I did. It was boring. And just when I thought the story couldn't get any worse, wow, did the overall gameplay of Windbound grind my gears. For a game that looks so smooth and polished, the game actually performs clunky and is mechanically awful. I want to start off by saying this game revolves around you sailing around the ocean on a boat. No matter what I did, I could not get the sailing to function properly. I want to preface this by saying I have played many games where I had to sail around. My favorite game of all time is Wind Waker. I love the aspect of sailing around. The thought of getting lost out at sea and meeting dangerous sea creatures really spooks me. That's my kind of horror game. I was completely disappointed sailing around the ocean in Windbound, and that's the entire game. The canoe and paddle you start off with were fine, slow, but fine. As soon as you added a sail to your boat, the sailing aspect was completely ruined. Completely ruined. You had to tighten and loosen the sails with no real understanding of when it was appropriate to do so. The wind was always against you. Never once did I sail with the wind on my side. It was a constant battle with the wind, and it was painfully slow to go against it. The sail was so bad, I eventually took it off and just used my paddle and canoe to navigate the map. It was slow, not as awful as adding the sail, but it was still slow. By the time I made it to 2 useless islands, I was starving to death, would die, and then I would have to restart the whole chapter, losing all of my progress. The main feature of the game was the worst part. By me choosing not to use the sail because it was completely non-functional, I missed out on any customization the game had to offer for my boat. I was left with a paddle, and a storage pouch, and that's it. I've seen snippets and playthroughs of this game where they had double decks and multiple sails, and to the people who make it work, I have to ask, how? How did you get it to work? I missed a huge chunk of the game because I simply could not function properly with a sail. When you managed to make it to the islands, everything was off. The AI stood still, let you whack it to death before it finally realized it was dying. Once you were hit, you would ragdoll and roll away. It was just bad. Not to mention, all your actions took forever to do. Climbing the beacon took what felt like centuries to actually make it to the top. The player would get stuck on weird corners and grab ledges that were not even there. I was hoping that the actual gameplay would redeem the sailing, but again, I was sadly mistaken. It goes without saying that I did not like this game. I put 7 painful hours into it, and I couldn't be bothered to do any more. This game felt like it was in early access, and if it was, I would let these issues slide. But this was an actual full release $30 game. Honestly, I think it's completely unacceptable that it was released in this state. I would advise you to not spend any money on this game at all. There is no story, the mechanics are bad, and you can get a better experience with almost any other game like this. With its bad storytelling, bad mechanics, and rinse and repeat chapters, Windbound was a total letdown. That was my first impression on Windbound. Have you played it? Leave a comment down below letting me know about your experience. And please give me any advice on how to sail this boat. Don't forget to follow our social medias, like and subscribe, and come back for some more great content. Thanks for watching.